It is a dangerous time of day, but this girl Aeon doesn't care. She is out here calmly taking care of a tree. She finishes pruning it and injects nutrients like nothing is wrong. She then reassures the tree that it will be okay. But things get weird when she starts talking to it. She even asks why the mountain owner abandoned it. At this point, she looks completely crazy. She scoffs at the careless owner and decides to check more trees. Our girl just wants to help before heading home. But tonight feels too calm to be normal. The forest is quiet in a strange way. Still, to Yen, this night feels like every other day. Her day is full of work and dealing with clients. So now she continues her routine of checking abandoned trees. She has no idea what is happening deeper in the mountains. Meanwhile, an injured man is running for his life. He is begging to be saved as he stumbles near a pit. Things get worse as he promises to reveal everything just to survive. But his pursuer is a complete scumbag. This guy mocks him instead of showing mercy. Turns out, he enjoys the fear. He tells the man that begging is useless. Instead, he says the real show is just beginning. Right after that, he kicks the man straight into the pit. At the same time, Yen unknowingly walks into the scene. She stays hidden and watches from a distance. Fear instantly takes over her body. She tries to understand what she is seeing, then it hits her that this is a murder scene, so she decides to report it immediately. She slowly reaches for her phone. At the same time, she starts stepping back quietly. But unfortunately, she steps on a twig. The twig snaps loudly. That sound instantly alerts the killer. He stops what he is doing and looks around. Cold sweat runs down Yan's face. She hopes she hasn't been caught, but then she notices another body nearby. That confirms everything. This guy is clearly a professional killer. Now she is stuck and doesn't know what to do. If she moves, she gets spotted. If she stays, she might still be found. But suddenly, things get worse. The killer notices her. A sinister smile appears on his face. He directly calls her out and asks if she plans to run. Hearing that is enough, our girl doesn't waste a second. She immediately turns and runs as fast as she can. The deviant keeps that evil smile on his face. He watches her run, and surprisingly gives her a head start. Then this guy calmly begins chasing after her. Yen runs through the dark and bushy mountain. She quickly calls the police while trying to escape. She explains everything in a panic. But things get frustrating. The officers focus more on confirming the crime instead of her danger. They keep asking if she is sure someone is being buried. Yen insists she knows what she saw. She gives them her name as they try to identify her. Our girl begs them to hurry before it is too late. The officer says help is on the way. But he also warns her about wasting police time. Yen agrees and tells them to come fast. Suddenly, thin strings move toward her neck. Before she reacts, they tighten around her. Just like that, she is caught. The deviant appears behind her. This scumbag mocks her and points out that she dropped her chainsaw. He even hands it back like it is a joke. Yen freezes in fear. She starts thinking this might be her end. Her life has always been quiet, and now everything is falling apart. She is finally close to her dream life. But things get worse as she faces a killer. She doesn't understand why this is happening to her. Then, something changes. A strong will to live kicks in. Our girl grabs the chainsaw and swings it at him. The hit lands clean. But surprisingly, the deviant barely takes damage. He only gets a small bruise and shows a strange scared expression. Yen is confused by that reaction. But before anything happens, something unexpected occurs. Turns out, the man who was about to be buried is still alive. He suddenly appears behind the deviant, without hesitation. He strikes him hard on the head. The deviant tries to fight back but fails. He quickly loses consciousness. Just like that, he collapses to the ground. The injured man confirms he is down and runs away. Yen stands there in shock. She stares at the unconscious killer, completely panicking. She doesn't know what to do next. But this moment changes everything. This guy will later become her secret patient, a vegetative man who stays bedridden for 2 years. Right now he is still in a coma even after 2 years. Meanwhile Yen goes back to her normal life. She continues working as a tree doctor like nothing happened. Yen finishes checking another tree. She suddenly notices something strange about it. Turns out this tree is suffering from constipation. The principal looks completely shocked hearing that. He asks her to explain it clearly. But Yen casually says the tree has a pooping problem. She explains that excretion is important for both plants and humans. She even calls it her healthy bowel movement theory. But this guy still doesn't understand anything. Out of frustration, the principal loses his temper. He shouts loudly, demanding a proper explanation. His voice scares the kids nearby. He quickly notices their reaction. So he calms down and changes his tone. Then he politely begs Yen to save the tree. He explains that this tree is very important. It is the school's official tree and a symbol for the children. Our girl calmly assures him she can handle it. She says the treatment is simple. Nutrients are going in, but they are not being released properly. That is what is causing the problem. But turns out this principal is not as innocent as he looks. Behind that worried face is a shady old man. This scumbag plans to take advantage of Yen. He thinks she is foolish, so he plans to make her fix the trees again and again, then he will secretly ruin them to get refunds and even sue her. He doesn't even listen to her explanation. Instead, he quietly smiles to himself. He believes everything is going according to his plan. But things take a turn. Yen suddenly calls him out. She tells him he is hiding something. The principal instantly feels uneasy. He tries to stay calm, but the pressure builds. Our girl is already onto him. She brings up the school's recent expansion. Then she lists all the construction materials used. She accuses him of dumping the waste into the tree's soil. She explains the damage clearly. Because of that waste, the tree cannot grow properly. It will eventually develop serious root disease. The principal still tries to act innocent, but Yen doesn't stop there. She directly accuses him of doing it to save disposal costs. She says his actions are cruel. Then she warns him she will report everything to City Hall. Things get worse as she tells him to prepare for bigger losses. Finally, she repeats her point. Excretion is important for plants too. With that, she walks away, leaving the principal completely shocked. The principal realizes he has been exposed. He quickly tries to reason with Yen and begs her to listen. But our girl isn't interested at first. She thinks about it for a moment. Then she realizes leaving like this might only bring trouble for her later. So she turns back toward him. Yen introduces herself properly this time. She says she is a doctor who speaks for trees. She also claims she is the best at saving them and removing them when needed. But turns out she hides something darker. She enjoys dealing with guardians like him even more. Still, she keeps that part to herself. With a cheerful smile she hands him a complimentary card. She tells him to visit their tree hospital often. Then she walks away like nothing happened. On her way back, Yen starts complaining. She talks about how people underestimate her because she is a female doctor. Many try to challenge her, thinking she is easy to deal with. But this girl is not weak at all. She has handled many stubborn old men before, so this kind of situation is nothing new for her. Suddenly her thoughts get interrupted. She receives a call and quickly picks it up. Turns out it is her boss. Her boss sounds serious. She warns Yen to arrive within 5 minutes, otherwise she will break open a door on the second floor. Hearing this, Yen instantly panics. She presses the gas and starts rushing back. At the same time, she tries to calm her boss down. Her boss explains the situation. She says she heard a strange sound coming from that room, that is why she wants to check it. Yen tries to brush it off. She says it must be a misunderstanding since the room is supposed to be empty, but things get worse. Her boss doesn't believe her at all. She reveals that she has already called a locksmith. Now the situation becomes serious. Yen starts panicking even more. She begs her boss to wait just 3 minutes. She keeps asking her not to open the door yet. Right after the call ends, the locksmith asks for confirmation. Without hesitation, the boss gives him the go-ahead. She clearly wants to see what is inside. But Yen cannot let that happen. She is racing against time now, because behind the door is a huge secret. The deviant is still there. A sleeping patient hidden from everyone. If they open that door, everything will be exposed. Luckily, Yen is very close. She might just make it in time, and if she does, her secret will stay safe for now. Yen rushes up the stairs without slowing down. At the same time, the locksmith is already working on the lock. Luckily, she arrives just in time and stops him. Her boss looks annoyed by the interruption. Still, she watches Yen pay the locksmith and send him away. The tension in the room starts rising. Her boss complains that Yen came too early. She says the lock would have been handled quickly, but our girl is already fed up. Yen storms over and grabs her boss by the collar. She reminds her that the second floor is off limits. She says it belongs to someone else. But this boss doesn't care at all. She brushes it off and accuses Yen of making excuses. Turns out she has been suspicious for a while. Yen tries to explain herself, but her boss cuts her off immediately. She demands to know why Yen doesn't trust her after all this time. Then she starts guessing. She says maybe there are gold bars inside the room. She even promises she won't steal anything. But things are far from that. Yen actually wishes someone would take this burden away. Still, she keeps lying to protect her boss. At this point, Yen has no choice. She must stop anyone from entering that room, even if she looks like a liar. Because if that door opens, her life is over. And turns out, the reason is someone named Quan Giza, the elder brother of the deviant. The story goes back 2 years. Yen suddenly wakes up trapped in a dark place. In front of her sits a calm but dangerous man. At first, she has no idea who he is. She only remembers the incident in the mountains. Everything feels confusing and wrong, but then she notices something horrifying. She is inside an abattoir. The smell of blood and the sight of meat being cut shake her completely. This guy Quan stays silent for a while. He watches her panic without saying anything. Then he finally speaks. He asks her why she did what she did. Yen is confused and terrified. She doesn't understand what he means. So Quan makes it clear. He tells her that the man she attacked is his younger brother. Hearing that only makes things worse. Yen realizes both brothers are insane. Now she is trapped in a nightmare. Her situation becomes extremely dangerous. Still, she forces herself to speak. She refuses to stay silent. Our girl tries to explain the truth. She says he is misunderstanding everything. She insists she was only defending herself, and she was not the one who delivered the final blow. Yen tries to explain everything. She tells Quan that his brother killed people and was burying another. But surprisingly Quan doesn't care at all. He bluntly asks what is wrong with burying just one person. Hearing that, Yen realizes things are much worse than she thought. This guy clearly doesn't see anything wrong. Quan then shifts the topic. He asks her how she views his brother. The question catches her completely off guard. Our girl freezes for a moment. She knows this man doesn't follow normal logic, so instead of answering she starts begging again. She insists she wasn't the one who knocked his brother out. She explains she was only there to take care of trees. Her voice keeps shaking as she repeats herself. But things keep getting worse. She knows her life is on the line. So she decides to reveal everything. Yen tells him the truth. She says one of the victims attacked his brother from behind with a stone. She also admits she hit him with a chainsaw in self-defense. But Quan doesn't believe her story. He says his brother has sharp hearing. There is no way someone could sneak up on him like that. Hearing this, Yen feels even more hopeless. She knows she has to escape somehow, but she has no idea what to do. Then suddenly, things take a strange turn. Quan calls her by her name. Surprisingly, he says he doesn't care about the details anymore. He tells her something terrifying. He says he can easily make her the culprit if he wants. That alone puts her in an even tighter situation. But then he explains his real intention. Since she witnessed everything, she must pay the price. That is all he cares about. Yen still doesn't understand how his brother became like that, but then she remembers his expression after the hit. That strange fear suddenly makes sense. At this point, she feels like she won't survive. But surprisingly, Quan offers her a deal. This guy suddenly gives her a way out. He says she can leave unharmed if she acts smart. Yen immediately asks about the deal, but he mocks her for catching on so quickly. Then he drops a contract in front of her, his men uncuff her so she can sign it. She has no time to read anything. So Quan explains it himself. All she has to do is take care of his brother. She must do it until the real culprit is found. He adds one more condition. She must keep his brother inside the White Dome. If needed, she is allowed to bind him. That is the deal she has no choice but to accept. And just like that, her fate gets sealed. Now 2 years later, it is midnight. Yen quietly goes to check on the deviant. Everything feels calm again. She watches him lying there. He sleeps peacefully, like a plant. It almost feels unreal. All she knows about him after all this time is one thing. His name is Huan Chu. Only Yen and Quan Gizhok know what really happened. Just one day after the incident, the entire crime scene gets cleaned. Because of that, the police charge Yen for filing a false report. Things move fast after that. The second floor gets built almost instantly after she signs the contract. Social staff are always present, taking care of the deviant. All of this shocks Yen. But what shocks her more is how powerful wealthy people are. Turns out Quan wasn't exaggerating at all. He said he could make her the perfect culprit, and now she knows he meant every word. That realization keeps her on edge. Now she has only one job. She must keep Cha Wu hidden safely until the real culprit is found. But that task is far from easy. So Yen makes a quiet wish every day. She prays that this guy never wakes up, because if he stays asleep, her life stays peaceful. But things get worse. One small movement changes everything. Cha Wu's finger suddenly moves. That tiny sign is enough. It means her quiet days might soon come to an end. The nightmare is slowly waking up. The next day, Yen goes back to her normal routine. She focuses on her work like always. But then her boss calls her. Her boss tells her to check on someone. Turns out it is the son of a landscaping company owner. But Yen doesn't react much at first. She casually mocks her boss. She says her new love interest is way too young, our girl clearly isn't taking this seriously. But then comes the twist. Her boss says the man isn't for her. Surprisingly, he is meant for Yen. Turns out he came to Korea for a marriage meeting. Hearing this changes the situation. Now it feels like an opportunity. Yen gets curious. She asks what kind of opportunity this is. Her boss quickly explains everything. Their tree hospital is struggling. It is barely surviving with small contracts. Meanwhile, another hospital is dominating the market. That hospital is Donggo Hospital. They have already taken most of the clients. And they are winning because of strong business skills. Yen starts thinking about it. She remembers how Donggo entered the area. They came in with a huge 5-story building. They aggressively took over everything. Their persuasion skills crushed the competition. It was a complete takeover. But turns out they are not perfect. Yen knows they are hiding some secrets that might become important later. For now, her boss has a plan. She believes this marriage meeting is their chance. In her eyes, this is how they take back what was stolen. Her boss goes all in on the plan. This old lady even gets Yen a queue number. Then she casually tells her to go meet the guy over tea. Yen immediately refuses. She says she is not a gold digger. To her this whole setup feels too sketchy. But her boss shuts her down. She says Yen doesn't even have the skills to be one. Then she tells her to stop being dramatic. She explains it simply, Yen just needs to introduce herself and make a good impression. That's all she wants. Now Yen gets frustrated. She asks how her boss even knows about the guy's return. And she demands an explanation about this queue number. Turns out, the tip came from the guy's father. Hearing that surprises Yen, she didn't expect that connection at all. Her boss explains they used to work together. That only confuses Yen more, but the old lady doesn't care about her reaction. She starts lecturing her instead. She says a good spouse is chosen, not left to fate. Then she insults Yen's attitude. Before she can finish, Yen cuts her off. She makes an excuse about checking the garden, then she quickly walks away. Her boss gets annoyed. But she lets her go anyway. She wonders if this girl plans to stay alone forever. Outside, under the warm sun, Yen finally relaxes. She thinks about how relationships feel like poison to her. All she wants is a quiet life. She just wants to take care of her plants. No drama, no complications. Everything simple and peaceful. But then reality hits her. Turns out, she is hiding a killer in her own house. So her life is far from peaceful already. When she first brought Cha Wu home, she was terrified. She couldn't relax, thinking he might wake up any time. Every moment felt tense, but as days passed, nothing happened. He stayed asleep the whole time. Slowly, her fear turned into relief. Now, it is midnight again. Another quiet day is coming to an end. Yen prepares to go to bed. But before that, she follows her routine. She heads upstairs to the second floor. This has become her daily habit. She checks the room every night, just to make sure everything is safe. And she always prays that Cha Wu stays asleep. But this time, things are different. The room feels off the moment she enters. Something is wrong. Then she sees it. The bed is empty. That single sight freezes her. Our girl stands there in shock, because the deviant is gone. Yen freezes the moment she sees the empty bed. Her mind instantly jumps to Quan Gishok. She knows if anything goes wrong, that guy will come for her. She starts panicking and muttering to herself. She says she has to find Cha Woo no matter what. Then she rushes deeper into the room. But turns out, she is not alone. The escapee is already there, standing quietly by the door. Before she reacts, he suddenly grabs her. Our girl gets pinned down instantly. She struggles with all her strength, but nothing works against him. She can't understand what is happening. This guy has been bedridden for 2 years. His muscles should be completely weak. But things don't add up. He is way too strong. Yen pushes that thought aside and tries to talk. She tells him to let her go, but he doesn't listen at all. So she forces herself to calm down. She calls him by his name. Then she explains his body is not normal and he needs medical help. She says she will call a doctor if he lets her go. But things get worse. He shushes her and tells her to stay quiet. Then he demands answers. Yen goes silent. She has no choice now. This guy is completely in control. Then he asks something strange. He wants to know who locked who up. The question shocks her. Yen immediately denies it. She shouts that she didn't lock him up. She even questions what kind of life he has lived. Trying to survive, she changes her approach. She tells him he was just a patient. Then she reveals the truth. She says he has been unconscious for 2 years. She begs him to calm down, but he doesn't react the way she expects. Instead, he flips her over and stares directly into her eyes. That moment completely freezes her. His amber eyes glow in the dark. They look like the eyes of a beast. For a second, Yen is completely shaken. Still, she tries to calm him. She calls his name again. But his gaze feels empty, like a bottomless pit. Then he leans closer. He asks if Cha Woo is even his real name. That question leaves Yen stunned. She just stares at him, confused. Then he asks something even more dangerous. He wants to know if she is important to him. Yen doesn't answer. She is too shocked to react. And that silence makes things worse. He pulls out a syringe and presses it against her neck. Then he asks if she is someone he wouldn't hesitate to kill. At that moment, everything clicks. Yen finally understands the situation. This guy has lost his memories. And surprisingly, that changes everything. Because now, our girl sees an opportunity. She plans to use this to her advantage and survive. Compared to everything she has faced, this situation feels manageable, so Yen quickly puts on an act. She pretends to be hurt that Cha Woo doesn't recognize her. She claims they are deeply connected. She even says they shared something very intimate. Turns out she is completely making things up to survive. She pushes the story further. She says their relationship is complicated and cannot be broken easily. What she really means is the contract with Kwon Guezak. Cha Woo listens quietly. Then he looks at her closely. He notices her body shaking and asks why. Suddenly, he asks something strange. He talks about fingers being taken and sold. Then mentions something about disgusting acts. But turns out, those words aren't really about her. They are just fragments of his memory. That alone makes things even more unsettling. Yen starts panicking again. Still, she forces herself to stay calm. She tells him they are not like that at all. She insists, they are very close. She even says he is kind. Then she adds that he once gave her a necklace. But that necklace is actually the string he used on her before. Of course he has no memory of that, so the lie continues. To Cha Woo, her words sound strange. It almost feels like she is brainwashed. That makes him question himself instead. He starts thinking he must have been a bad person, but Yen quickly denies that idea. She says she is completely fine. Then she flips the narrative.